I woke up with more time, more time to reflect on my life, more time to be intentional about my life, more time to reminisce about my love for my mom and just simply missing her. And as I share, I think about the Savannah Guthrie case and her mom being missing. And I have followed it from day one. It hurts my heart to think about not knowing where your mom is in the physical, being that her mother was kidnapped. But what I glory in is her faith on display for the world to see. Very difficult situation for her and her family. But yet, I saw the newest video where she talked about whether her mom was here or alive, or whether her mother had gone on to glory, and just wanting to celebrate her mother either way. I understand it. I get it. And again, my heart goes out to the family. There's more time to look at your life when you're missing that loved one. And it almost feels like there's a choice between sitting inside of that and moving forward. So sitting inside of missing that person so much so that you become stagnant, that you don't move. And because of my career as a licensed clinical mental health counselor, I've walked with many, countless, through grief. So I know what it can look like. I know the gravity of what it can look like. And so I believe that that helped me to some extent. I had a gifting in walking with people through grief, but then it came to my own grief. And I am like everyone else that I must go through the grief. It's a process and it looks different for from how I experience it and how you experience it. But nonetheless, we all must go through it or let it take us down. Let it stagnate us. And so the choice not to sit sometimes and just intensely focus on missing my mom is actually an intentional choice because time, when you have more time, you can what you gonna do with it? You can do something with it. And so that's why I'm here. And is it possible that we could do both? You know, I like that idea overall in life of having both. You know, many times people say you got to pick one or the other, and it's true in some cases. But sometimes you can have both. So there are times where I sit and I sit in missing her. And there are other times where I intentionally do something that I feel is productive and effective with my time. And so, what could some of those things look like when you are grieving someone that you love? What does it look like for Raquel, is what I can best tell you. And so, one of the things that I think I've shared with you previously was that when my mom first passed, immediately I saw myself in my bedroom just walking around in circles because the pattern that we had created for the last month or so, because as she declined, it just kept changing and kept changing. I had to pivot constantly. And so, but in that last month, it looked a certain way. And so once she passed, I came to wake up and to get started with my day, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I didn't know what to do with myself. And so I was walking around in a circle, and I realized it pretty quickly. And I was like, okay, hold on. And so I had to take time to gather myself even then. But since then, again, it's been more than a year now, a year and almost a month that she passed. And my routine looks very different. I have to tell you a story about a young lady I worked with in the school system back in the day. And she was an interesting young lady, but one day we got to talking, and she said to me, she started telling me about her morning and her morning routine. And she shared with me that, like, when she got up in the morning, that she got up early enough so that there was no rush in her day at all, that she could just get up. And she talked about taking a shower and getting out of that shower so eloquently, sitting down to caress her own body with lotion. And I heard in that self care. It went from that to getting dressed ever so carefully, slowly, methodically, and then going into that kitchen to make her tea. Where's my tea? She and I both share a love of tea. Thank you for letting me take that sip. And from that point on, even as I was taking care of my mother, there were days where I tried to incorporate just a little bit of that, just a little bit. You know, the greatest compliment is when when somebody wants to imitate you. I wanted to imitate that. It was just so beautiful how she took that time in the morning and centered herself, got herself prepared for the day. And most days, when she came into the building and she spoke to you, you would sense that. And I say most days only because all of us are going to have challenges in life. So she wasn't exempt. So there were days where I could tell it was a little bit different. Did you have your tea? Did you have your coffee? So for me, it's been looking at the morning with intention, whatever that first thought is, listening to it, becoming aware, of where I am, and then intentionally orienting myself to several things. And so, what are some of those things for me that I want to share with you? Let's say One of those things is listening to the word, sitting down at some point intentionally for about 30 minutes and studying. Another thing I do is actually, this is new. This is new. I was given a book, A Daughter's Grief Journal. So I've been using that, exercising, or not really exercising. Let me change that. I like to stretch in the morning because I need to. It's not, let me be honest. I don't really like, I don't love it. Maybe I like it. I don't love stretching, but my body needs it. Everybody's body needs it, but I don't know that everybody is aware of that. And so I have more time. And those are just a few things. But my mind just shifted to feeling guilty sometimes that you have more time because you spent all of 40 years, but let's just say you're not you haven't spent as much time as I have taking care of my mom. But maybe in the last 2 years, let's just look at the last 2 years of my life with her. It was very intense because her health was failing. And so not being there to take care of her or not having to do so anymore can bring on feelings of guilt that you actually, that I actually have more time to myself. And I think honestly, what helps me is that I know that God would want me to take care of myself now, and that He honors the sacrifice that I gave over the years. He saw us every single day, He saw every challenge that we had. And not only that, but He's taking care of her. She's good. She's where she belongs. She's not in any pain anymore. Those are the things I can take comfort in and that I know for sure because I have a hope in Him. But then the other thing is, she would want that for me. She would want me to rest because when she was here, there were times where she didn't want to need me, but she did. But she did. And I believe that she appreciated what I did for her, even though because of the mental illness, she was not able to express so much so, which was challenging for both of us. Think about being in your body and not being able to truly express yourself. Unfortunately, we live in a world where there are many people who are living like this. But if you are able to express yourself, because I am able to express myself, I do it to honor myself and sometimes the other person that I need to share how I feel with. Our feelings weren't meant to be disregarded, but acknowledged and used for good. All of your senses. And I would add, because you know what the five senses are, I would add that the sense of having faith in knowing that there's something better than this earthly realm. That's what's helped me because I'm not subject solely to this time here on earth, and neither was my mom. And so I can hope in that. I can glory in that. And it can help me through this grieving process that I must go through, that you must go through, that we must go through. I have more time to intentionally seek what is that new assignment. Remember, I said my assignment did not end, or my purpose did not end with my mom's passing and her reward. It changed my assignment. Okay? That's what happened. And so a part of that is being in this space and in this time right now, sharing from my heart. And the reason that I do this is multifaceted, and you'll hear about that each time I share. But the thing that I think about right now is how you're listening to me right now. I listened to a podcast recently, actually the day, the anniversary of her passing. And when I listened to that podcast, I literally walked away with one thing that has stayed with me. That in my grieving process, I believe is what has given me direction most recently. And that is to give love away. How much more can I be intentional about giving love away? That's why I'm here, to give love away. That's what brought me to the honorarium and tribute monetary gift that I will give away this year to a caregiver who has sacrificed their time, their life, their dreams for the loved one that they're caring for. That's why. That was my answer to giving more love away in that moment. Strategically, intentionally, on purpose, giving love away. Why? Because it's going to help me too. It's going to help me too. And it's going to honor the love that she and I had for each other. It is going to honor the relationship. It is going to honor every lesson learned then and now. Because how many of you know that I'm learning now? I'm learning now how much more she meant to me, how much more empathy and compassion for people, all sorts, but especially caregivers and those with mental illness. And it changes through the years. I've always had a love, a deep compassion for single mothers because my mom was a single mom. And as I grew up, knowing that I wouldn't have children, I lent myself to help single parents because my mom she didn't have that. In my early years, there was one person where I would go and stay there and, but for the long haul, and then when things changed, it was all me. It was all me. And so that heart, whatever God has given you a heart for, move with it and give out of that love, give out of that compassion, give out of that even sadness that you may have, frustration that you may have. You see, I was frustrated with the system that we were in. And I did not want to be a part of that system. And I have lived my life to make sure I was no longer a part of that system. And it took a long time, but I was able to help my mom actualize and live a life that wasn't impoverished. And I'm so grateful that I was able to do that. So, my point is, what will we do with the time that we have? And if you've been given more time, don't allow the enemy to steal it from you by feeling that you don't deserve to breathe right now. Breathe. God has given us that breath. You've done well. And I'm talking to caregivers who truly sacrificed and gave of themselves and took great care of that loved one. Not misused them, not mistreated them, but took very good care to your best of your ability. Not perfect, but you had a bond. This is how you know, because you would have had a bond with that person. Me and my mom had a bond. Undeniable, visible to everyone, even though they didn't know our story. I remember after my mom passed, someone came to me and said that they had no idea that my mom had a mental illness and had suffered with it one day of her life. No idea. She said, because of how I covered my mom. Yeah. I didn't come without my tissue today. I did not come without my tissue today. I'm prepared because of how I cared for my mom, because of how I covered my mom, because of how I treated my mom. I didn't treat her like she was helpless. I didn't treat her like she was a victim. And actually, there were times where she might have even been mad with me because of it. Ray, just do it. Sometimes she just wanted me to just do a thing. But there were times where I say, no, you have the ability to do for yourself. And that which you cannot do for yourself, I will gladly do. See, sometimes we handicap them. Oh, that's a whole nother podcast, isn't it? But I remember her. I remember everything about her. And I honor that memory today. Knowing that I have what? What do I have? More time. I have more time. Let me say a quick prayer for you. Father, I pray that everyone listening to this podcast on today will be blessed for listening, that you would touch a part of their heart and speak to them. Let them know that they're not alone, that you are with them, for them, and you will see them through in every situation. that the grief of that loved one, you're there in the process. And where two or three are gathered in your name, you will be in the midst. As they're being led to follow what's in their heart, to do something with the time that they have, give them direction and bless them. Make it clear. Make it clear in Jesus' name. Amen. I am Miss Vi's legacy, Raquel Reed. And as my dad would say, much love.